All right. Did you guys watch the Lakers game?
Yeah. Dude, that was intense, dude. See the last minute of it?
Yeah.
Last minute was good, dude.
They almost lost.
Yeah, they did almost lost. If it wasn't for Ja, man, he missed that last shot, that last free throw.
What's going on with AD?
Oh man, I don't know. But he did good though. He did good last game.
80 is aggressive, but
Westbrook is not.
Carmelo though.
Yeah, dude, he
did some buckets.
He did so good. He did so good that game.
That's the only thing. If they're on fire, it's unstoppable. But
the thing is though, like all the players that they let go, their teams are winning. They're not. Yeah. And they're all stacked up, So, all right. So, new podcast. We took a break for a while because we had a lot of things going on.
A ton of activities.
A lot of events. And we had a big convention, fully booked convention. And now we're back. And
all right.
Feels like it's our first time again.
In a while, huh? It's like I'm very rusty.
But the good thing is we have a special guest today.
We do. We've been trying to get this lady forever.
Yes, and every time I ask, she always say next week. And somebody convinced her because I was asking my mom to be our guest, and she said, "I'm gonna call someone."
Yeah,
and she said yes to my mom. So I've known this lady since 2019. Actually, I knew her because of her mentor and leader, Julius, under the Kindred Builders organization. So it was kind of fast-paced at the time because, we met Julius and then they came on board. Actually, one of our guests, which is actually her son, Javen, was one of the first one that actually joined and kind of convinced her forcefully. Yeah. So, and at that time, I know you guys were going through a lot of things, and that's why, the business was actually not the priority at the time. Although you guys came from, another company before. But after you guys came back here and got serious, from the Philippines, got serious, and your team is one of the biggest and fastest growing team in our organization. Mm-hmm. One of our 100,000 earners as well. Mm-hmm. In the organization, hopefully this year or early next year, 200,000 earner. One of the biggest cool thing too in Milestone is that they're I think one of the last person that qualified for the equity share point before we got paid December 9.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
they hit the time.
They hit it like the cutoff, which is so amazing. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Honey Baconao.
Hey, honey.
Hello.
Oh, I remember still the
Welcome.
I was afraid I was going to click the wrong button.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome. So, usually in our podcast is like casual. We just talk about life and stuff. And our friend here, Ace, and our brother.
I'm looking at the screen.
Fred. So a little bit of background of yourself. What was your job before? Kind of like, most of the guests we have is not really just in this industry when they started. They came from some companies before, or they work on a different industry and transition to this one. So a little bit about background of yourself. Who is Honey?
Sure, definitely. So I think I'm like the perfect example of somebody who has been always trying to look at the next opportunity. So, name it. I think I pretty much tried to sell it.
Yeah.
So I've done, like the vitamins. I did those juices, those miracle juices. I did coffee, even technology, and nothing really kind of stuck to me, or stayed with me actually. So, but I was always open, I did get into our own business. We have a janitorial cleaning company. It's commercial. But still, again, I think something in me is always trying to look for that next big thing, So I've always, like I said, I've always been open to hearing, other business opportunities. So finally, when Jolly, my husband's friend, invited us, and I was just like, okay, fine, I'll go. But I'm like totally over it. I don't want to even do anything with any multi-level marketing or any of that. That's what was in my head. So I just sat in and I listened and I was like, okay, I wasn't even paying attention. But at the end of the whole presentation, I was like the first one to sign up, and then, but I still wasn't really into it. So at that time, one of my mentors before that I truly still admire and respect, she was the one that told me like, she would call me and she would say, so did you take a look at, what, like whatever on your website? I'm like, yes. Did you take did you start reviewing? And I'm like, yes, I did. And she's like, no, you did not. 'Cause I'm on your thing and it's not even open. I'm like, okay.
Can't trick me.
Yeah. So she actually challenged me and she's like,
Nice.
just do it, just do it. So, I'll be honest, I was like, okay, let's see how far I can go. This time, and all I focused on was the reimbursement, kind of like, okay, what's like the first bonus? So when I achieved it, I'm like, okay, let's see what else I can do, and it kind of led one thing to another, but I wanted to go back to Javen because that was kind of like, I think, one of my highlights in it because I did kind of force him into this business initially.
Right.
So, I was like, he was, I don't know, 17, 18 years old at the time, so barely legal. But I was like, hey, do this. Because, I wanted somebody with me to doing this. And so he did, but half-heartedly again.
Yeah.
So after that, like what you said, I went home to the Philippines because my mom was ill. So when I got back, I was like, maybe I should just focus on, this. And I wasn't just feeling anything right now.
And at the time he left here by himself, right?
Yes. We left him because we were gone for about 5 to 6 months.
Wow. Yeah.
We went home and we wanted to, spend time with my mom. And then, of course, being off that long, you're kind of like, totally...
Yeah.
like rusty.
Yeah. You're not motivated.
Yeah, not motivated. And then, my mom passed and I come back and I'm like, and then back to reality from the Philippines is even worse. So everything, like I was just in my PJs eating like, it's like I came from a breakup.
Yeah.
Like a breakup.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I was eating ice cream and Javen's like, Mom, you have to meet, he was all excited. You have to meet James. You have to meet at the Gemma. You have to meet, this. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, that's it. I'm giving you 2 weeks. Get out of your PJs and you have to come with me.
It sounded like at first you were forcing him to do it.
Yes.
And then when you came back, you're the one who's getting forced to go
Yes.
back. And the same script that you used to him, that giving him 2 weeks, is the same script you used to you.
Yes. I actually gave him 2 days. Not 2
Okay.
Like 2 days.
Yeah. Get it done. And he's like, no. I'm like, yeah, do it. you're scheduled this weekend. He's like, what? No. So yeah, it was right
That's pretty
after.
good.
Yeah, on his. I think it was like he had a game or something, and then I told him, okay, you've graduated, right? And he's like, yes. I'm like, good. You have a scheduled exam on. He's like, Mom. So, but yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, he kind of did it to me this time. And
Yeah.
I'm thankful he did.
I remember when I kept telling him, like, where's your mom at? He's like, she'll be here. And then one day she came. I remember that first time.
Really?
I think it was on a Tuesday.
And she had, at the time too, she has like,
She was wearing a suit.
yeah, but she has like a wall. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like
She
she's-
came in and she was just like, I'm not going to like this.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to be here. That's, yeah, I have to admit, I was like that.
Yeah, and then but even in the Philippines before, like going back to your background, you were in sales already, like
Yes, I pretty much I used to be in a TV, a TV network station, GMA7. I used to be an account manager there, so I dealt with a lot of advertising. But then after that, we kind of did our own advertising agency. So, but pretty much I've always been in the sales and business development. At one point, though, I did become a recruiter for gaming industry.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay.
I was still trying to it's still a little sales,
Yeah.
but
the one that is it the one that made NBA?
NBA, what was that?
Was it EA or Blizzard?
Oh, yeah.
Right,
Yes. We did deal with them. Well, my favorite part of my profession at that time was when we would attend GDC or E3.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Like we
Yeah.
get to see all those things. And then I had a client one time. I went up there and I was like, wow, these are, of course, it's what do you call it? We can't really say it's privacy, confidentiality.
Yeah,
but-
NDA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
NDA. But I swear, I would go home and I'd be so excited. I'm like, oh my
It's
God, this
sorry.
Assassin, and Jolly was playing Assassin's Creed at that
Oh,
time.
my sister plays it.
So I was like, oh my God, this, I saw this and I saw that. It was amazing. So it kind of brought out, I think, the kid in me.
Yeah, no, it's always
Alright.
fun.
Right?
So you experienced corporate world,
I did
and then
a lot.
kind of in sales because it's accounting and advertisement and stuff, marketing.
Right. Yes.
And then transition to like a headhunter, right?
Yes, I did. And then after that, though, I did partially go into medical.
Okay.
But that didn't work out too well for me, So I'm like, okay, this is not my
If it
thing.
worked out, then maybe we haven't met you.
Right,
Good thing
right.
I did it.
Right.
That's true.
Right.
So,
That's
so-
true. Thank
so-
God you didn't,
Yeah.
So so those things that like your skills that you use on those work that you had before, did you find it handy, or it's kind of like natural already when you transition to sales, not just this industry but like in general?
I believe so, but honestly, even with Javen, I always tell him the most important thing in any business relationship is if you work with your heart.
Yeah.
To me, I think that's one of the things that Javen and I always try to implement when we're dealing with people is, yes, at the back of our heads, we're thinking, hey, this is a big sale. But at the end of the day, we have to think, okay, is it really beneficial for this person?
Yep.
Or is it really, are they going to be happy at the end of the day? Am I going to be happy at the end of the day? When I go home, I have to feel good about what I did.
Yeah.
Right.
To me, I think that goes for anything, not
Yeah.
only just, with this industry that we're in, but even with when I was doing recruiting. I didn't want to place somebody where I know that it doesn't match his,
Yeah.
skills or
Just
what
to-
he's looking
just to fill
for,
up that-
just to fill
yeah.
up that position.
Yeah.
So I never really did that. But in some ways, somehow I think a lot of people are smarter than we think, and they sense that.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
So I always tell Javen integrity, credibility. It goes a long way.
Yeah, and then in this industry,
Especially,
it's a small world.
Yes, especially in this
Like
industry.
you can't burn bridges because
Right.
somebody's gonna say
Someone
something.
knows
Yeah.
Everyone knows each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's a
Yeah.
small world. But how did you even see yourself being in this industry specifically? Like, what did kind of click and you transition to this industry?
I'll be honest. I went into this industry. Well, I was actually invited by Domingo. I don't know, Domingo Bacay. He's like my
The lawyer?
No,
or,
Domingo Bacay.
Joni.
He's like Joni.
Joni, okay.
He's my kumpare. So before, he's the one that brought me into all of those
Lotion, potion, pills, like Fred says, right?
Yes. And then
stuff.
so every time he was like, okay, and I'm like, what is it again, Dom? What are you trying to get me into? But at one point, he did introduce, this industry, and he's like, just look into it. And when I'm like, oh my God, this is so boring. This is too technical. I have no idea. I can't. I have no skills for that. But I tried. I did the whole, hours and all that. I said, oh, that's not for me. I have to be really, really smart to do this, or really, really technical.
Because it's legal. It's different, right? Like I know when Ace shared his background before when he did sales, because there's a tangible item that you sell, which is I guess that's the fun and easy way, because like you have an actual thing.
Exactly.
And in here, technically, it's just a paper.
Exactly.
There's
but
It's not visible.
Yeah.
It's not
It's a
visible.
concept.
But I mean, I think besides that it's really, really crucial also because you're dealing with, something really, really powerful and that can really impact some people's lives. Not like if you sell, coffee, if, it doesn't work, then it doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's okay. You can still sleep at night because they bought a coffee pack. But I think with this business, you really have to do your homework, and kind of really know what you're providing them is really, what.
So just one day, it just clicked that.
No, it took pretty much more than a day. Like I said, a lot of
Convincing.
harassing, a lot of convincing, a lot of force, invitation. But at the end, I'm like, you know what? I just kept on challenging myself to do like the next step, and then when I, suddenly I just kind of knew how to do the basics. And then after that, it was like, because like I forgot, I used to be a lighting consultant. So when I would go into buildings before, the next thing the first thing that you do is you look at the lights, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same with dentists. Like the first thing is they look at teeth. Now it's like whenever I talk to somebody, you're thinking like, I wonder, this and that. So I think that's kind of like how I was drawn into it, because I mean, my family in the Philippines, like we weren't really educated about this industry. All we knew about was, just to have food on the table. And
when
then
you go
sleep.
to a reunion or family party, it's like, oh, you look like you might need a living benefit.
That's so wrong. You're eating that lechon too much.
Oh yeah, I think you better
Get your
get living
policy
benefits
first.
before you even take that.
No, I mean, even like casually, like let's say, like I went to church just last Sunday, right? And then, we were introduced and she's like, yeah, I just retired. And I'm like, you just retired? Really?
Like light bulb.
I was like, ding, retired.
I feel like you also kind of like you enjoy the competitiveness and like challenging yourself. Like, 32 hours class, so let me try it.
Yes. And I think because of course I have to admit I am very, I have that business. It's in me. Like it's in my blood. Right, the entrepreneurship. So like in my head, I'm like, okay, how do I get the 750 or how do I get the 900? That's just what I was looking at. Like, okay, well, since let's say if I had the initial whatever, I know that if I get that amount, like I'm pretty much, I have a business without really, putting out any investment in or in capital or whatever.
So
like,
yes, speaking of that,
like
talk about business. So you've been in the corporate world, so you had a job and now your business. So when you saw the opportunity in the business side, like enjoying your time. I mean, don't get me wrong, as a business owner, you actually work more than an employee.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you enjoy it as opposed to a job, right?
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
like you never seen yourself going back to an 8 to 5 or 8 to 4.
Definitely no.
Yeah.
I really don't. And I know.
Because I know Ace is the same, right?
Yep.
I hope my husband's listening right now. No, because we're actually, and I'm very, very blessed because, Jolly, my husband, he's the opposite of me. He grew up with the 9 to 5.
The traditional.
The traditional kind of, mindset. Like that's why he was actually my hardest recruit. So, but yes, ever since I've always thought, I will not be able to reach, the kind of goals that I want if I stick to 9 to 5. So even if I was, a recruiter or in the medical field, I would always have side gigs. I would always be selling something.
Yeah.
And so yes, like for me, having our own business gives me the time and all that time, but I think like in this business is my concept or my impression and what I always share to my team that are really hardworking is I say there's nothing bad about 9 to 5. It's the stability is there, that's good, but like for me what I'm after is I want more time with my family, and I think like because I know I'm hardworking, and I just think that, hey, if I put, my efforts, the same efforts that I would into a 9 to 5 job, and I put it in here and work, 5 to 10 years, I'm done.
Right.
Then if I were into 9 to 5, I'd still have to wait until I'm 63, 65, and then only ending up with
a little
a little bit.
I like that. Before we switch gears, because I know it's similar to Ace, because we've kind of like brothers from another mother. So like I know Ace mentioned like that's the same kind of goal he had, right? So do you want to share it? So like it's the same mentality that he has.
Yeah, like again, I love thinking about this because if you want to get ahead in life, right, you have to see life in two aspects. It's either you just want to be comfortable or you want to get out of that comfort zone. And a lot of it is, okay, if you normally just work just to get by, hey, that's okay. Right? Exactly what you said. That's okay. That's life, right? But if you only have one life to live, right? Why get controlled by something? Like why not do what you want to do? Why not make what you want to make? Why not earn what you want to earn? So I love this saying, it's nothing wrong with working from 9 to 5, but what are you doing from 5 to 9 to better yourself? Because that, at the end of the day, is you living your life, you having freedom, you getting to choose what you want to do.
Yeah, and it's fun to see because like it doesn't matter like the age group. I mean, we're not that far away from age.
Yeah.
But because being the same kind of like background and we came from the Philippines, and most of the time it's more traditional. We go to school, get your bachelor's degree, get a job, work till 65, retire. Same concept you're going to pass on to your kids, right?
Cycle.
Yeah. So, in one of the meetings, Ace mentioned that, his goal was to, work hard now. In that way, there's, he has more time with his family after.
Right.
And that's the same kind of mentality that you had that, let me do it everything now.
Yes.
Why would I wait till 65?
Right.
So that's the ability of, I think, in any business, not just this industry, don't get me wrong, but having that, like Ace said, what to do after 5. If you're doing something out of it, but if you're doing the same thing every day, don't expect a different result.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was a good transition. Do you have any questions?
No.
Oh,
That's it.
So switching gears, not just the age and where we came from, similar background, actually a different perspective for you, because we are a typical kid that went to college.
Yeah.
For us. Typical medical field. For him, it's different story.
Filipino.
He grew up here.
Medical science.
There's still science in there, even it's computer.
There is science in
So it wasn't embedded to us to do something like this because it's more of like I have to get a degree, find a job,
Right.
But because our parents was specifically our moms was in this industry, it kind of forced us to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I know Ace was in sales before too, but he wasn't. He was doing it for the income, right? The extra income. Like we were saying, you were passing it to your son, Javen, which is also part of the business now. It's a different because you're mentioning the mission first, right? Instead of the money. That they have to get this because they actually need it, right? So for us, in our view, when we share our stories, it's we got into the business, it's kind of a blessing also that because we were introduced because, our parents does it. So we got that support. So it's a different perspective because you're you're our guest and you're the one.
You're the parent.
You're the
Yeah.
parent. You know.
Yes.
Last time we got Javen's perspective as the son.
Yeah.
So now your story as the mom.
Right.
So, did you ever like thought of like, oh, I want to pass this business to my kids in the future?
Definitely. So it actually clicked to me because I had, like I said, when I go to, a client, I really listen, like what their concerns are and, but I want to correct you. It's not just the mission. It's also the commission. I'm money driven. No, but kidding aside, there was one client and I still remember what she told me. And, she said to me, well, I have no problems in, doing business with you or, but I want to ask you what happens if you're gone?
Mm-hmm.
She said to me, right? And I said, well, what do you mean? So and it was a long drive home. So on my way home, I was like thinking, I mean, like what would happen to like all my clients? If like I'm gone, like, what if, sudden death or whatever, like I'm not saying that they're going to be around for like until I'm 60, but what if I have, a sudden death? What happens to all these people that I said that I would take care of them, So it kind of dawned on me. I'm like, oh my God, like I really have to, force my son into this. And, like I said, not only because of the financial opportunity it has, but also as like a backup for, the responsibility also. And, like I've always, I love mentorship. I love listening to like, I've never thought of myself like, oh, I already know that. I'm not going to listen to him. I'm better than him. I never had that mentality. So even if they're young, I think that I could still learn something from them. Mm-hmm. So for me, like, in my head, I said, if I'm able to get Javen into this business with me, we can actually kind of help each other, like I'll be his weakness. I mean, I'll be his strength and he'll be my strength, that I lack. So that's kind of like where I kind of had the idea of, okay, now my next thing was, how am I going to convince him?
Yeah. So actually, that's a good point. I haven't actually shared it, but, since my mom is also in the business before, like growing up, and she's always like either out of the country or doing something else, right? So we didn't build kind of that big relationship at the time. And then not transitioning and transferring here in the United States, adjusting again, because it's kind of like, oh, we're starting fresh, right? So that's one thing, the reason, and my mom doesn't know this. So that's the reason why I also kind of like forced me to do the business too. Because that if this is a way for me to build relationship with my mom, it will be the business, right? So I mean, it's a different perspective. But, because if this is what she's passionate about, then maybe I can connect through this. Right. Yeah. So I think it's a similar thing that you're trying to impart with Javen is also like, maybe it can fill the gap.
Yes.
Yes, I'm not saying,
most definitely.
I'm not saying you're lacking as a mom or you're lacking as a mentor, but at least in this business, it's a different perspective.
Right.
Because for us, like, we go home, it's a different relationship you have. But once you're here in the office, it's also a different relationship we have with our moms.
Right.
But most of the time the strictness is the same. But it's a good that you were able to introduce it to your son. How did you introduce it?
Yeah, that's a question. Yeah, that's a good question.
So at first, you have that weekly meetings, and like we're very, I'm very blessed with our family, because we, like Jolly and I, really try to have that quality, bonding time every time. Like we always eat together, as a family with no phones and stuff like that, and we kind of talk. So most of the time, I'm the one talking, sharing whatever, and so they're kind of tired of me, talking about it. And then so I just said, just come, just come. And then when I didn't see any, support or anything, I'm like, okay, I need somebody to drive me. I can't drive. I just come up with all sorts of excuses. Like, I'm going to be late. I can't drive, or my bag is too heavy. Anything to get them to come with me. So finally he would, You know, at that time, Javen was all about PS and his friends and basketball and,
Yeah.
you know, all of that. So he wasn't really focused. And in my head, like what you said, yes, a part of me, besides, you know, that part where I wanted a backup for my clients, but a part of me, of course, as a mom, in my head, I knew in my head and in my heart that this is something that could really help him.
Yeah.
You know, whether he's successful in this industry or not, I know at the end of the day, when he walks away, he learned something out of it
at least
for
you
his
can,
own.
at least you can leave this earth knowing that you imparted something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I know that because, like I said, you know, I grew up in the Philippines where, you know, our family were not really educated about, you know, this kind of industry. We don't really know anything and we don't really talk about it. So we kind of have to learn the hard way, you know, how to save, how to do this, how to do that. And I wanted to change that, you know, with my children. I wanted them to be very, very financially stable, responsible, and kind of aware. You know, that way when they talk to people, they don't look, you know, like
Yeah, they have the education.
Yeah.
yes, they're educated about it. And at the same time, they know how to handle their own finances for their family, you know?
You don't learn that in school.
Exactly. And I wanted to cut off that, you know, kind of paycheck to paycheck mentality. I wanted to cut that out
Yeah.
with them. So going back when, you know, I told Javen, I remember he was sitting at the back of, you know,
The
the
office.
presentation. Yeah. And he had his
Same story as me.
yeah, he had his earphones on or whatever.
Yeah.
He wasn't listening. And, you know, Javen is like similar to me. He's driven, you know, on his own. You know, it's like if the more you push him, it's like,
doesn't wanna do it.
yeah, he doesn't want to do it. But, you know, he heard a young, you know,
Leader.
young leader said, "Oh, I make this," and then he just like took it off, and then he started listening. So that's kind of like what led to him. And then he saw that there was a lot more young people that were going in, made friends, and I kind of used that like, yeah, let's go and see them, you know. But it wasn't really.
Was he
the case.
contemplating to like getting a part-time job somewhere before during
Yes,
school?
yes. So again, luckily, I do have one mentor in my business that I look up to also, and he was actually my client, and he was sharing to Javen. He's like, "Look at me, I'm VP of, you know, a corporate company, you know, one of the 500 companies." But he's like, "But you know where I started?" He's like, "I started at Taco Bell, you know." So he started to get inspired. He's like, "Mom, I'm gonna go apply at In-N-Out, or I'm gonna, you know, apply at Chick-fil-A because look at him." And I said, no, you know, that's good. I'm not going to say, you know, no, don't do that or anything, you know, because still he'll still learn something, you know. But I told him, I said, but, you know, you have a lot of things, you're materialistic, you know. I was telling him, I said, you want nice cars, you want nice this, you want nice that. Do you think that if you work at that, you know, food chain or whatever, yes, you'll learn stuff, but wouldn't you want to learn and make, you know, a lot more? And he's like, oh, I can't do, you know, what you do. And even my husband, he was saying, you can't bring him into that industry because he's young. Nobody's going to listen to him, you know. But in my head, all I thought was, I want to build.
Yeah.
I'm not really after, you know, like to kind of sell. So, and I needed him. I needed his energy. I needed his the way he was, you know, like he's he inspires young people.
Yeah,
a
because
lot.
he only as a kid, like they only see like, oh, my mom just want me to do this,
Exactly.
but they don't
exactly.
see that you actually need him because it actually pushes you more.
Right. But I mean, you know, he has his own struggles. Like I don't spoil him, or you know, he whatever he's, you know, doing, he earned it on his own. You know, surprisingly, but yeah, it's so like even his car, he pays that out. He has no privileges, so he knows that he has to work hard. So I told him, I said, it's good if you want to get the experience at you know, In-N-Out or Chick-fil-A. I'm pretty sure you know, they're a good company. But why don't you try this? And if it doesn't work out, you know,
Then do that.
Let's go back.
do
Yep.
that. And then one weekend, he was on his phone and everything. I just challenged him. I said, hey, because I was getting desperate, you know, I'm like, make calls. And I said, just make calls. And he's like, ooh. And I said, okay, for every, I think I said something like, for every call you make or every appointment you make, I'll match it or something, like, you know, money wise.
Yeah.
And I would always bribe him like that, you know, and then he did. And he got, I think, 3 appointments, and he, you know, rode the bus to the Bay Area, and he came back one weekend. He made like, I think, 3,500.
Wow.
And for him at that age, he's like,
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
and I was
That's even
like,
more than
yeah.
someone making in a minimum wage job
Exactly.
full time
So
in
I
one
told
month.
him, yeah. So of course I was
Definitely.
cocky, and I was like, see, I told you, right? But I told him, I said, look what you did. I said, you spent a weekend and you made that much, right? I said, if you were to work, you're not even guaranteed 40 hours because you're
Go to school
you have to
part-time.
go, exactly. You have to go to school. You're only
Right.
part-time, so you're going to get paid a lot less than that, because guess what? I said, I worked in a corporate world and I didn't even get paid that much for a whole month, you know, at
Yeah.
that time. So I told him, but that's only once a week or one weekend. Why not try doing more? You know, I said, it's up to you whether you're lazy or you're, you know, really
Yeah, you wanna
hungry.
work.
Yeah.
Did you guys
want-
had that as with your mom too?
Oh yeah.
Like, okay, you can do that, but
Yeah.
there's always a but.
Yeah,
I
learned-
support you
But
with
you
that
should do it.
Yeah.
I definitely went through that.
Yeah, you can do that. It's good job, but
Exactly.
In
Yeah.
reality.
So, but I think with him though, there, you know, it was a roller coaster. I mean, even with myself, I think not even just for Javen, but I think I'm always torn, like in between, like my perception of, you know, like the balance
Yeah.
in life and
Yeah.
stuff. So, and I told Fred that every time, like, hey, you know, reality kicks in, and
Right.
yes, I'm self motivated, and this and that, and I see that in Javen too, but you know, like he's young, he has a lot of activities now. He's in college, he has a lot of friends. So sometimes, you know, it's gonna come where they kind of get sidetracked
Yeah.
or derailed,
Yeah.
right? So I think as a mom, I kind of like what you said. When you go home, it's a different scenario when you're in the office.
Yeah.
With me, I think it's I have to have that consistency with Javen. Like, hey, you know, yes, you're, you know, I don't have that division. Like, to me, whether in business or whether at home, I'm your mom.
Yeah.
oh,
So I think
yeah,
that's
that's a
kinda
good thing you brought that up. So
I don't care if you're, you know.
there's you
Yeah.
do so you at least you're aware, like you can catch yourself that I have to draw the line, like
Yeah.
I have to be a mom now. I'm not your upline or your manager
Yes,
or business
exactly.
partner.
Yes.
But most of the time you don't.
No, most of the time I'm just a mom.
Yeah.
Benefits
I don't
of
think
being
you
a
can
mom.
get rid of that. I don't think you can get rid of
No, I don't think so either.
No, you
like,
can't.
yeah, like, you know, sometimes though I try, you know, I would go in his room and I'm like, hey, make some calls, you know. I'd have that little side thing, like, hey, take care of your team, you know, whatever. And he's like, Mom, don't bomb me, you know. Go take care of your team. Kind of like that.
That's a
Have
good
you
one.
ever had also, like, of course, being a mom and, you know, that's your son, you know, and guys doing the business, did it came to a point that you guys argue because of the business?
I don't think
That's
so.
a good question.
Argue because of the business? No, I don't really think so. You know, sometimes he would just,
Misunderstandings.
no,
Yeah.
no. Sometimes he would just, because I guess, you know, they're millennials. So, like, hit my way is maybe like, I don't know, older version, I guess. I don't know. So when, like, I'm talking to his friend
Yeah.
and he's like, Mom, you know, like, and I'm like, what? You know, I'm on a roll. And I'm like, this. He's like, no, stop. You know, just like that. But actually, it's the opposite. I think because of this business, just like what you said, you know, you kind of wanted that bond with us. We, you know, even if we do have a tight knit, you know, like
Close knit family.
close knit family, I think this one made it even more solidified.
More.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because it's really a teamwork.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah, I
not
can
just
see
a
that.
family business, but it's like really team.
Because
work,
now, as
you
like
know.
as a mom, you know, like not only I'm involved with their life, you're kind of involved in all aspects now. Because
Correct,
not just
right.
school, but the business,
Everything.
Everything. Like, at least you can see them grow. Like, even though they go sidetrack. Maybe this is not their passion, because I know Javen's passion is really, to get the degree and help more
Correct.
people.
Yes.
But at least you can support them both ways,
Actually, what you said, that's also my passion. Yeah, that's actually, Jollies and I are like, okay, give us a degree and you can do whatever you want. We don't care, but degree first.
Right.
And I think, when at one point he was like so into this business, and he was like, Mom, what if I, like, let's say, not take, so much units, this. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Do full.
Yeah.
Do full, do full-time student.
Get your education.
Yes. Because like he was trying to juggle, because he wanted to, explode in this business, but he's like, I need more time. I need this. And then he was loaded with, his school.
Yeah.
And he was considering, kind of lessening, or trying to lessen his load or his units. And I'm like, no, that's not an option. I'm like, I'm going to make you quit in this business if that's what you're going to tell me. So yes, having his degree, and I'm thankful because now it's him now. Because I'm like, hey, make all. I'm like, I can't, Ma. I have to do my. I'm like, you can do that later. We have
It's
a
the opposite.
meeting. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
now.
I mean, it's, not because they're not listening. It's still there.
Yeah.
It's just
Yes.
sometime it will click in. But like, before I ask the question, like, for these guys too, because they're doing with their parents as well. In short, summary, like, how were you able to get convinced to do the business?
Oh, you always hear my story. So after I graduated, and I don't think I've said this on the podcast. So I always say this every meeting. So after I graduated from nursing, I've always wondered like how my mom made so much money. She's had at one point in her life, she's had 16 homes. She's owned like all these big businesses, like 200-bed facilities, everything.
Right.
And I'm like, where'd you get that money from? So I knew she was doing life insurance. I know she's been doing it for the last 20 plus years. So when I graduated, I sat down with her like, Mom, can I have a quick minute? Let's just talk for a little bit. How much do you really make in life insurance? I wanted to know, how much do you really make? Because, at that point, I was starting to apply, like trying to work with, because we just finished our practicing, and trying to apply for different hospitals. Starting rate was like $40 an hour or $45 an hour. I was like, okay, did a calculation, like $5,000, $6,000 a month. And I asked my mom, okay, how much do you really make? She brings out this napkin. It's so Filipino, just napkin.
Out of his
And
out of
she
her
has
bag.
like a ton of pens in her bag. I don't know how that happened. She had a ton of pens. She starts writing it down. So this is what they pay. This is how much you get. And she got that number. It was like the first time she told me was like $3,000. And I'm like, you're saying that if I say this to one person and they get this, she made $3,000.
Wait.
Like,
That's
hold
like
on.
that's a typical Filipino mom, right? She didn't answer your question of how much she actually made, but she actually kind of showed you
Yeah,
how
she
much
showed
you
me
can
the
make.
formula.
How much
She
you
showed me the
can.
formula.
I'm not gonna tell you how much actually I made.
And I even asked her like, how long was that meeting? Very short. I was like, okay, why did I go to nursing again? I could have just done this, But I still am proud. Exactly, like I still have a degree to my name.
Exactly.
And I still get to choose what I want to do.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, it definitely strengthened a bond. But I mean, that's how I got in. I got in because I saw like, wow, the amount of effort. Like, I don't know if people understand this. Like, if this business or this industry was so easy, everybody would be millionaires. Everybody would,
Right.
But the thing about that is, if you wanted easy, then just go get a typical 9-to-5 job and then trade your hours in for dollars. That's really all you need to do.
Yeah, but the question is not if it's easy or hard. It's just, what do you want?
Yeah. What do you want? Like, what motivates you, right? So
How about you, Fred? How do you got
Oh, man.
forced into the business?
I mean, I got challenged. I mean, my mom was like, get your degree, do what you want to do, and see how that is after. And I got my degree, and I didn't really like that field. And I just noticed, like, man, we have so much opportunity, like, growing up. I was like, that's something I want to do for my kids.
Yeah.
And then she was like, I remember just when we were younger, she just like, own your business, like, don't be employed. Because my dad was always employed. He was an engineer. And I always saw his, like, his schedule's the same every day. Like, his life was the same. And I just remember, like, seeing my mom go on, like, vacations. You know how it is.
Yeah.
I go on first class stuff, and I'm like, that sounds like it would be a great opportunity. But so I got my degree, and I started working there. And she was like, this is how much you make a year. This is how much you can make in a month or 2 months. And I'm like, no, that's fake money.
Yeah, it's not real.
It's not real. Why is my allowance this small? You're making that much.
And you're so stingy with it, Mom.
Yeah, I was just blown away with like when I went to a meeting. Like my first meeting was a Las Vegas convention, and that weekend I was scheduled to do the test. I didn't even do a BOP or nothing. Or just get your license, and it was crazy because all my friends are like, "Don't do that. Like, that's not a legit business. You're not gonna make money. Blah blah blah." And that kind of challenged me. So that's what I took the business like full on. Like, there's no way I'm gonna put my toe in the water. Like, you know how some people come here, and they're like, "Okay, honey, I'll do business," but they're only putting half of the time,
And most of the time they go back to what they actually
But
normally do.
if you have like somebody that's dedicated, they put the 100% of their time, you'll see a big difference because they have no other choice.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's just you just get to that point. Like with your son, I think he's in the same thing as all of us. He's like trying to make sure he can get your approval and also get that being proud of what he does from you. So it's one of those things that he has a big challenge. He has a big pressure, but the pressure is actually good because it will push him to be great.
Right.
Yeah. And like for me it's different because I've known my mom like business every time, even though she was employed way back. So for me, like growing up, like maybe business is not mine. Although I've always seen like I want to wear suits, when I work, because like that's what you see on TV, right?
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. I want to have my office and you wear suits, But for me, it's different because my mom is always not there, and that's because of the business.
I kind of had that negative part.
Same with me. I mean, that was the same thing too.
And then every time like growing up, like okay, whatever you say, I'll do it. I went to nursing because she said it. So at the time, it's like, am I just doing things just because she's telling me what to do? So it kind of was a struggle for me before. I just did nursing because she's the one who's paying the tuition fee, and then now I don't know how I finished it. So it's kind of hard because like my motivation, it depends on her, But eventually I kind of realized because she's doing the same thing with their agents, the way she does it with me. We never talk about finances. We don't talk about income. We handle things independently. But when I kind of saw it, maybe because she sees something on someone that you're worth more or you can do better. So I guess that's what I saw is like, maybe the reason why she's introducing it to me because maybe I don't see myself doing this, but she sees me that if I do that, I can be successful. So that's how I kind of like saw it. And so when I did the business, at first, like everybody else, like I just did it because she said so. I got licensed because she said so. I don't even know how to do sales, right? I don't even have relatives here to start with. I don't have warm market, right? So I kind of just like I said, it's a different way of forming bond with your parents, in the business side. So let me learn why are you so passionate about it.
Yeah.
So when I joined the business, then I see like, this is what you do with other people.
Yeah.
You help them, not because you're scolding them or you're lecturing them, just because you deserve better and you can do better. And I've seen that we made a lot of successful leaders. They become 100,000 earners. Like, okay, that's what we do. It's not anymore like what I can sell. Right, not what I can offer. Because
how much successful people you can build.
So for me, that's the biggest thing that I like about this business in the industry, and that's the reason why we like this podcast. Because like your story now, next couple months or next year when we invite you again, it will be a different story.
Yeah,
because you actually made something again. You got better from today, and that's the reason why we invite a lot of our audience, because we want to show our viewers and or the listeners that at one point in life you were in the same situation as this person. Not because they're here, because they're successful. Right. So so that was the key. And and the way we built this team or our office is more of a family business. Because if I'm not gonna ruin someone's life because that's my family. I'm not gonna just use you because of money, because you're my family. And I guess that's the same mentality or mindset we had for our team. That's why
Right.
we do quality business rather than quantity, right?
Correct.
So, what advice can you give to a lot of moms? Because we have a lot of agents, right? And same thing
Yeah,
as
there's a
your
lot
team.
of them are moms, and they
Yeah.
always ask me, "How did you do this? How did you get your son?"
Can you talk to my son? Can you convince him?
all
Like,
the time?
and for me, when I hear that, and when like every time, like sometimes I see them, oh, I brought my son, and I see them, they're not paying attention to
No.
the BOP. I don't even look at them or ask them questions because I know I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in our perspective, is like, Mom, don't talk like that. Like the same as Javen is saying here, right?
Yep.
Because we've been there.
Yep.
We don't like
Yep.
getting pressured,
Yep.
right? Like for me, it took a while before I realized, oh, that's the reason why you're pushing me to do this, right? So what can you advise other parents or agents that we have to kind of,
Yeah, that's a golden question.
yeah,
I know, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, I myself had been thrown that question a lot, like, how did you get your son to do this? And
Right.
like, not just do this, but he's so into it, And usually I say, I can't take the credit, honestly. It's, for me, the only thing that I did was invite. I just invited him to, to come listen and see for himself. And then after that, I think what really worked also is, just like, hey, show me the money, because for their
Money
age,
talks.
it's really the money
When he talks.
initially, and then that's where I got him hooked, right? So once he's hooked in, that's when I throw him like, hey, integrity, credibility, being a leader. Then I start to groom him into, all the other components of a leader or a person or, a young, entrepreneur. But initially, really, is yes, as a Filipino, we can force our children, but it doesn't work on everybody.
Nope.
So for me, I think it's find that whatever that would pique his interest.
or were you at least in the middle that you can connect?
Right. Like, if I've heard so many stories, like even before, like, yes, they invited, that's why I did all sorts of things, because Javen was really tough too. He has his own decision. He's really independent also. So when but he has a good heart. So when I tell him, oh, my bag is so heavy and I'm going to be alone and this and that, that's where I got it. He's like, okay, fine,
reverse
Mom.
psychology.
Fine, Mom, I'll go. Yeah, I think it's the mom part that I kind
Yeah.
of the mom weapon is what
So
I
you
use.
did kind of like just planting seeds, small baby
Yes,
steps.
yes,
Because I
yes.
feel like sometimes, like when I see agents that invite their kids, and I feel bad for them, and I kind of like oh no, I kind of like decipher it, because I think they're pressuring their kids so much
Right
that
away.
they hated
Yeah.
what they're gonna do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when they come here, the guard is just like sky high
Yeah.
already, because in the first place, they didn't want to be there.
No.
I think it's similar also, though, with Javen. And I just told him, what have you got to lose? Just listen. And he's like, it's a waste of time. Typical
Yep.
responses. And
Yep.
you'd be like, I'm just kidding. I didn't do
No,
that.
like a good example is like Sam Perdito's son, Marvin.
Yep.
When I first met him was before COVID. And he came, I think his dad told him just to check this out, and came. And he was like, oh, yeah, it's a good business, but I'm going to be a doctor.
Yeah.
Eye doctor, yeah.
Optometrist. Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, So then, like, we don't see him till 2021.
Yeah, recently, yeah.
Yeah. And he comes here and he brings recruits. And now he's like, I'm going to hold off on that.
Nice.
I'm going to go full.
It's just
blown.
something click,
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm saying too, because like if you're, for me, it's like I see like if you're pressuring your son or your daughter to join the business, not only is creating a wall, like okay, it's gonna up to a point like just to stop you and pressuring me, I'll join it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But they're not
The
really
heart is
into
not
it.
They're not
there.
going to do
Yeah.
anything
And if
with
they
it.
actually do it because of too much pressure, now they think like they're competing with their parents.
Exactly.
Like I cannot, because you already set a high standard that I can't
True.
even reach it.
Too
Yeah.
much pressure.
Yeah. So like I like what you did. I mean, there's pressure on it, but it's like
Yeah.
It's
small
the way
step.
it is, yeah.
Yes.
The way
And
it is,
and
it
I
is.
think also what's really important, especially for the moms, when they do want to involve their children, is sometimes, especially in Javen's age, is for them to really connect and relate to somebody in the business.
Yeah.
Because if they see, I mean, like, I'm not, no offense or anything, but like, let's say, you know, Javen comes here and he sees like everybody's like older than me, for example.
Yeah.
I don't think he would really kind of see, because, you know, but he sees you guys, you know, so he has somebody that he can look up to. He has somebody, you know, so I think, like I said, I'm really high on mentorship and leaders and all that. So because he sees that, I think that also added more value, and it made it easier for him to kind of like be interested in it. Like, I want to be like Kuya
That's true.
James. Oh, I want to be like Kuya Fred. You know,
yeah,
kind of like that.
And it's the same for us. I mean, we saw Fred. It's the same. But it actually helped. It's that's why it's like family in a way. It's also like a counseling for a lot of the kids that join the business because they're opening it up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got the same thing. I got the same story.
And that's,
you know.
I think that's what happened to Marvin.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause you guys hung out with him
Yeah.
at a convention with Javen. And that's when he was like gung ho. Like, he just went full speed after the convention.
Yeah.
And you know, the one thing, and I cannot speak for all of the younger generations, but for us, like I always talk about it to Ace and Fred, is like our biggest fear as the kids doing the business, you know, following the footsteps of our mom or our parents, is that, knock on wood, if something like if they're not here anymore, I don't know how we're gonna do the business, because we always follow that, you know, the support of our parents.
Yes.
But like you said, because of having a mentorship or leadership in the office, kind of like helps you, like, oh, if you know, if I can't do it on alone, at least there's support system, right?
Right.
So, because you know, they already set up a high bar,
Right.
you know, and we're still trying to catch up. You know, like for us, we're still just climbing and going there, but they already went back and forth.
Exactly.
You know, they've been there, they did that. You know, for us, we're
True.
still kind of still experiencing it, and then one day, if they're not here anymore, like, how do I continue that path?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, because we're looking up to someone. So it's also kind of like a pressure in a way for a lot of kids, but you know, but like you said, you know, meeting other people in the office and things like that.
I think is really
It's really helpful. Just because it's outside the house, you know, I'm not talking to my mom. I'm talking to someone else.
Yes,
Right.
You know?
Javen has that thing. Like, let's say I said, "Oh, red is a really good color," you know, and he's like, and then he'll hear Kuya James say, "You know, red is really good color." Yeah, I'm gonna get red. I knew it, you know. And I'm like, "That's what I said." I was like,
They need
No,
validation.
That's how it is.
and I'm like,
No, I know what he mean. I know what he's
Yeah.
talking about. Like,
So-
my mom says a bunch of things, and I'm just like,
exactly.
and I hear Petro. Okay,
I'm gonna
you know, it's a whole different
he's
thing. but-
been like that. And then like what you said also, going back where you know, you were saying that if, like, let's say, knock on wood, I'm gone, but even now I feel like you know, he would ask me a question and I haven't even answered and he's already going up, and I'm like, where are you going? I thought you wanted to hear. He's like, no, Mom, I'm gonna call James. I'm gonna go call you James. I'm gonna go call. And I'm like, okay, you know. So yes, I have.
It's good to have that, and
yes,
it's
I
also
love
good
it.
to have your advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I learned from him now too, because he's like, oh, Mom, did you know that this? I'm like, really? Who said? Kuya James? I'm like, oh.
I thought you were gonna question what I said, but actually, it's true. Like, you know, I don't know if you guys do that. Like, if I ask my mom a question, sometimes I'm not sure if it's right. Like, I have to ask someone.
Yeah, that's somebody
I
else.
don't think it's wrong. I think.
It's insulting
No
to
comment.
Mom. You know?
No comment.
Wait, your mom is not
We
here
shouldn't
yet.
add anything to that, dude.
No
I have to bleep that. But
It's
yeah,
insulting. You know? And
No,
I'm
but
like,
that's what it is,
Yeah.
especially as a kid. I mean, like my kids, you know, like you look at Kobe Bryant, his daughter doesn't even like want to listen to him. He's like the best basketball player, and she's like, I'll do something else. Yeah, like, that's crazy.
so yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like with my kids, like right now I'm grooming, like trying to groom them because my son's 16, my daughter's gonna be 18 this month, November. And she's like has a part-time job. She works at Sumi Sumi. You guys know what
Oh
that
yeah, yeah.
oh yeah. Yeah.
And she's like, man, you gotta work hard to make that money. I'm like, yeah,
So we can get a discount there, right?
or maybe I don't know. And then she's like, I go, you know what? You don't have to work that hard to make good money. That's when they start asking.
Yeah.
You just have to work smart.
Yeah. So I just kind of slowly put that in there. But one thing is that you're right is get the degree.
Yep.
Like
Yes.
with my kids, if they don't know what they're gonna do, I tell them just
Get anything.
get a business degree.
Yeah.
because then you can that field goes to every field.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
True.
So it's like that's a good opportunity. And plus, I told them like, biggest thing is make sure you get public speaking, because that's what drives your success.
Right,
If you're
right.
able to talk to a bunch
Yeah.
of people. So one of those
Yeah.
tips. I told Javen the same thing. Make sure you get that.
Yeah.
You'll be better than than us,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because you'll be educated and trained.
Yeah. So if you know, if there's one tip you can give to your son, let's say you're gonna leave something, a life lesson to your son, what would that be?
Always listen to mom. No, I'm just kidding.
That's a good one.
That's given.
Or dad, sorry. No, I think I don't know if he told you, but on his 21st birthday, Jolly and I made a poster, right? Happy birthday. And in the back, there was 21 life lessons that I told him, you live by these principles in life, turn them into your own principle.
Yeah.
But one thing that I always keep going back to, no matter what, it's not really, I don't know. It's like, I always tell him, because he has siblings, he has friends, he's going to have business partners. But I always tell him, my friends even, or, be the better person.
Yeah.
I always say that. I think he knows that. He knows that's always my saying, like, always be the better person in business, in life.
Everything.
In everything. So I've always kind of, I think he kind of grew up hearing me say that to him, to his brothers, and always, like, even to Jolly and even to myself. Like, you can't avoid it. Sometimes you're like, you want to strangle somebody, but I'm like, okay, I have to be the better person because
I'm bigger than my problem.
and no, like, even Javen now, he brings it to me. He's like, Mom, remember you told me we have to be the better person.
Yeah.
So it actually helped us a lot, because in the business, you're going to encounter problem clients, you're going to encounter vendors, you're going to encounter all these, difficult people, or somebody that's just not in sync, with your views and your principles in life. And you just kind of have to say, I have to be the better person because maybe, they're going through something, or maybe his intellect level is not as
The same.
as mine. So I have to be thankful that, sometimes like that. So because of that, value that he has, I think he'll be able to make better judgments in life across the board, not just business, but as a person.
Yeah.
That's
That's a good
Wow. Ace is taking notes.
I know.
yeah. So
mental note.
Mental note.
I have 20 more, but I think we don't have to.
So also the $1 million question that we usually ask before we end the podcast, because we don't want you to hold, because I know you brought a lot of people for today's meeting. So Ace will ask you this $1 million question that we always ask.
$1 million.
The $1 million question.
$1 million.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I like million.
You ready? How do you define success?
Oh, I wasn't ready for that question. No. How do I define success? I've been asked this, and before, when I was young, I'm like, I want infinite supply of money, But I think now, for me, success is having a fully balanced life where I'll have the time with my family, but having that multiple stream of income, the freedom to, do whatever I can. But I think for me, I can say that I'm successful when I'm able to really, really, I don't know, I have this like little dream of mine where I want to open up my own orphanage. So I said, and every time I try and I say, I don't have the right to yet. I'm not successful enough. But and I try harder and work harder, work smarter. But I think for me, success is really when I've seen like all my children happy. I'm able to provide them, I get them out of that poverty line and they're well educated.
Right.
But pretty much like, to me, family is my success.
Yeah.
So as long as my whole family, and I mean my whole family, not just my kids and my husband, I mean like my brothers, sisters, aunts,
Everybody.
uncles, cousins. James is my family also.
Yes, yes, yes.
So like as long as I see that they're happy and associated with us and we're comfortable,
Yeah.
to me that's success.
I think so.
Yeah,
That's a great one.
that's a great one. And that's kind of like your motherly characteristic,
Yep.
taking care of everyone. But if somebody asks you what success you want, like
To
taking
me,
away everything,
Yeah. Not motherly, like more like
let's
your personal.
let's say God came today
Mm-hmm.
and asked you if I can grant you one wish, what would that be?
ooh,
No
that's
responsibility, no consequences, but you have to choose one for yourself.
deep. For myself.
What would that be?
Success.
That's a
for
hard
myself.
question.
That's a hard
That's
question.
hard.
The reason why
Because-
I ask, because most of the time when we do goal settings and
Yeah.
when we do what's your why stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it's always about. Don't get me wrong. That there's nothing wrong about it. It's always about the family and stuff, because that's our nature. We're a provider, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, sometimes, like they say, you have to learn how to fish first before you can teach someone, right?
Right.
So you have to fulfill your personal success first
Right.
before you can think about other people's success.
Yeah.
And most of the time when we ask what's your why, I want to help my family, I want to buy a house for my family. It's there's nothing wrong about it,
Right.
but what do you want? That's not the reason why you want to do the business.
Yeah.
I think
And-
it's kind of embarrassing to announce.
No,
but
it's you.
I want to wake up like whenever I want to, have the freedom to like, I mean, I don't know. I guess because part of me, the reason why I'm having, kind of challenge to answer this question is because I feel I always look at the people
Around you.
below me
Oh, below.
than the people above me. So it doesn't mean that I'm content, but I already feel like I'm success. I feel blessed. You know what I mean? So for me, what do I want? I think the main thing is just for me to have. I know you said stay away from family, but I want my family with me, and I want to eat whatever I want to eat, whenever I want to eat, wake up whenever I want to wake up, and I don't know, maybe watch Korean drama whenever I want to,
There you
and
go.
not have to
Like
worry.
financial freedom.
Yeah. So there you go.
Exactly, and
So
not
there's-
have to worry about I have to take care of this because like
Yeah.
I was telling Fred like I like my concept. The reason why I went into this business is I'm looking at long term where I want multiple streams of income, right? But what I do is I want to build and with other business I build and then sell, right?
Yes.
With others. With this one, I just want to build and just watch.
Yeah.
Watch
There
it
you
grow.
go.
And you can do it with this business for sure.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so I think that's my definition of success is when I've reached the point where I have that capability of seeing my business grow, but just kind of like
Yeah.
watching it from behind.
So there is that you didn't answer it like actual words, but you actually did answer it. The reason why I asked it, because a lot of times agents we have get lost or sidetracked or
Yeah.
get less motivated. You can always come back to this
Yes.
and hear that. But because you had that when I asked, see, it's a different answer. You had a different answer when I asked you the first time.
Yes.
When you answer your question, I only ask you what you want, but you actually laid out all the plans you want for you to achieve that success.
Yeah.
So because you already have a clear goal.
Yes,
You know,
I
in
do.
simple terms, the success you define is you want to do what you want, when you
When
want
you
it,
want.
with the people that you want it to do with.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's
No
that's
choice, unstoppable.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
So that's
Being
a good one.
comfortable.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
So you guys have any more questions, concern?
No. I mean, I'm going to see her next year in another podcast, and she's probably going to be one of the largest organizations we have.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She actually
And
invited
she'll be
a
the
lot
one
today.
sitting back watching her.
Watching everyone. Yeah.
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 I told you so.
Yeah. That's
Definitely.
actually that's the ultimate dream.
It's like you want the orphanage, right?
Yes.
This is kind of like it. You're have children under you.
Yeah.
And you want to see them succeed.
Yes. Yes.
And you have the ability to. Your house is the business. the opportunity.
Yeah, because I know James, he's always kind of looked at me like that. Like what you said, like you're always like so I think it's not only you. I heard it somebody told me that like you're always about nurturing and caring about or taking care of somebody. And that's actually part of why I'm here. You know, what made me stick to, you know, staying here instead of looking for besides the opportunity. But it's because I really, really love that part where you build leaders.
Yeah.
You know, like
It's fun.
like-
It's so much fun.
yeah, it's like Lego, like Play-Doh, you know, like, ooh, here, have a little bit of, you know, time management here. And then, you know, like a little
Build it.
boost of confidence there. And then you see these people grow and become successful and you were part of that. I think, that's really powerful.
Awarding.
Yes, very rewarding.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
that's a story that you can always tell people. You know, like, oh, we were sitting here today, and next thing you know, you're on the stage, or
Yeah.
you know, the people sitting in the back is now sitting in the front because they made it. You know,
Yeah.
and we were kind of part of it. It's not all the credit to us, but at least we made an impact. You know.
Yeah.
Right.
So and that's one of our goals in the organization is to be, you know, that. And you know, for us, we rather be the one clapping in the back.
Yeah,
And, you know,
I would rather.
seeing them successful
Yeah.
is the key.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, I cannot be just the one person on the stage every
Yeah.
time. You know, because without them, who's gonna clap for me, right? So so that's a very good lesson you took out. So it wasn't that hard, right?
It was pretty easy.
Pretty
She's
easy,
a
right?
natural. She's a natural.
Yes,
So
thank
do you guys want to add more
Oh,
closing?
that's good. That's good.
No, I think it's good. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely someone's gonna listen to this and be like, "Dude, that's where I was sitting at." Like,
Yeah, and also a lot of moms will also see it and they're like,
Yeah.
okay, I learned something from
I
this
hope
podcast.
so.
Yeah.
I really
Definitely.
hope so.
No, you do. A lot of
Parents-
time.
a lot of parents will
yeah.
see.
And next thing you know, they're going to be like,
Next thing you know, when you come back here, we have an orphanage because a lot of millennials are joining.
Kids
You know?
next week.
All
Thanks to
right.
Honey.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you.
your
Thank you
time,
so much.
guys.